thanks for coming back in my art studio. We're going to be continuing the painting that we started yesterday, and I have Millie and Bella joining us today. They're going to be washing paintbrushes for me. Actually, Bella looks like she's ready for her nap. So anyway, we're going to be heading into the studio in just a moment, and today we're going to make something begin to happen out of just playing in the paint yesterday. So come on in the studio and we'll get started. All right, well, thanks for coming back in the studio. And we left this painting in kind of a state of chaos, which is a good thing because from chaos comes beauty. So it should be messy, it should be random. So I also showed you that I turned the canvas different directions, and even though those drips now are going horizontal, you might see an orientation here that you want to work with. It doesn't have to work with gravity all the time. Actually, I've done some neat landscapes that have come out of having some horizontal lines. But I'm just I was playing around with it earlier today and turning things around. I think I'm gonna go with this because I see a few things. Now, often in my paintings, I include vases, and you can see down in here, there's kind of a neat shape that could evolve into a vase. It'd be really beautiful. But sometimes I don't use vases. I don't really ever know. It just kind of depends if I see that image coming out of the painting. So I'm going to jump in and show you how I get started. There's not a right or wrong place. I will admit I snuck in after we completed the video and I added a few more textures, actually using just good old bubble wrap. Works great. And those are kind of fun to work around. So I'm going to just begin. And this is kind of what I do. This whole part of the painting really becomes somewhat of a dance. And I'm just kind of finding a focal point. I'm going to end up going back and forth multiple times, going over things. And I'm just starting to kind of build some images here. Now, one of the ways that I paint my flowers is I have this kind of a, I've ruined a lot of brushes doing it this way, but I have this push and pull. I like to use white again to give different depth and shape. And again, this is just the initial part. So you can see now I'm already starting to overlap some other things. And I'm going to come back to this multiple times. But right now, this is just kind of my starting point. I don't know where this is going to go exactly. I'm going to grab a little, I kind of like that part of the stencil that was showing through, so I'm going to keep some of that. It doesn't have to be exact at all or real contrived. Now I'm kind of making some of these flowers as a similar shape, but I'll do some different kind of shapes in a moment here. Again, it's kind of your design, what is appealing to you. It's nice to work with lights and darks, and we'll go back in a bit and really accentuate that where we have a light versus a darker image. It gives that depth and perception. It makes it a lot more interesting. But right now I'm just kind of looking for some textures, some color pops that I want to maintain and not disappear. So maybe I want to keep a little bit of that fluorescent up there. I'm going to use that as the inside of a flower right now. And again, I go over things that I may have kind of liked, but I'm not going to worry about too much. I can always go back in and add things. You really can't get too attached to things in the painting, or else we just freeze up and we're scared to even do anything. So it's okay, and that's the beauty. I love acrylic paint for the fact that I can paint and let things dry, or maybe it's not even dry, and just go over it again. and completely switch it up. So again, kind of focusing on some lighter, a lot of white. Kind of lost that little blue in there, but that's okay. Doesn't really matter. So you can see there's some flowers starting to emerge out of this. Now right now a lot of my flowers are the same size, so I'm going to want to kind of mix that up. I don't want everything to be the same size. I'm also going to want to try to find at some point here kind of a focal point. Right now I don't have a focal point, but that's okay. I'm not sure where that's going to be. So I could continue on with that kind of pink, add in some orange, get some really pretty peaches, but I'm going to switch up right now and go in just for fun into some kind of more orange. And you'll see this is where that white comes in super handy, because I don't want my paint to feel wimpy. I want to have it really kind of covering up areas. And again, things are very flat right now, so I'm not going to keep it flat. Things are going to get much more dimensional. It's like I said, it's a very much of a dance of back and forth and going in and adding more color, more layers. This flower here that I'm working on right now is in front of this one, but who knows, it might change and not be in front next time I do it. So let's see, there's kind of this interesting pop of kind of that real warm yellow in there, and I'm going to capture that. I'm going to get a little bold. It's kind of fun to also just challenge yourself and say, I'm going to do something bold here. I'm not going to worry if I do something that I ultimately don't use or don't like. I'm going to go kind of a little big and bold here. And the other thing I'm kind of looking for is maybe there's some things that I'm not crazy about, like let's see. Well, this is a little kind of blah looking up there, so I'll probably go in and get rid of that at some point with something. So I'm still going to capture some other areas that I like. I'm just playing with some different colors. I don't know what's really going to be the predominant color in this. I don't know if it's going to be more the pinks or kind of the orangey peaches. Not that it really matters. And it's super important too that you get away from your paintings. We tend to start to look at things too closely, and then we overthink it, and we're not sure that we like something, and we start to get a little critical of it. So I just kind of threw some centers in those flowers. Again, may or may not keep it. Now you can see here that I'm just kind of going for a floral at this point. I'm going to go in with a couple little deeper color. I'm still doing that kind of similar shape flower. Sometimes I think they tend to look like poppies. Other times maybe a little bit of a dahlia, zinnia, whatever. I'm not trying to be exact at all with the flower that I'm creating. What I'm doing though is wanting to go in with white and add some dimension. If you keep working over and over and over it, obviously it's all going to become kind of the same color. But for now I'm getting some more texture and layer in that. So I've kind of been working in the smack dab in the center. Maybe I decide to head out over this way. You can kind of hear this rubbing sound. That's why I've destroyed a lot of brushes, but you could be doing this with different, I like, again, this flat brush that I'm really fond of, but you could be doing it with a round, or you can even be finger painting this, whatever. It's kind of fun for you to do. Now, you're beginning to see some layers, and I don't have to cover this entire painting by any means. Now those are really similar in color there, so as much as I like that color, I'm going to have to kind of do something here to differentiate those, or I'm just going to end up losing it. Or I could turn into one big giant flower, but I'm going to change that up by going in with a deeper color here. And if you're finding that you're working in an area and you're just kind of losing the dimension of the flower, maybe it's a little too wet, might have to kind of come back in, let that area dry a little bit. Just kind of leave that alone for now. So hopefully you can see where I'm kind of going with these flowers, and looking for some textures that I want to keep, some pops of color that I could build a flower around. Again, I'm going to be going back and forth and back and forth, and I haven't added in any greenery to this yet. And that's where things start to get really fun. I want to show you one quick thing before we wrap it up for this part of the video, that it's really fun to go in now with some darks. And this feels very kind of bold and weird, and you're not trying to paint exactly around every little flower that you've made, because I'm going to go back to those flowers and bring them out again over this background. But you can see now when you lay in darks and be kind of random with it, all of a sudden you start to pop these flowers. So I'm just kind of tucking it in some areas. It's very random. It feels a little out of control in this part, but hey, that's been kind of the name of the game for this whole painting, right? So I haven't completed and gone to all areas of this painting. I don't want to have, I'm going to even grab some purple and get in here. But I'm starting to bring some contrast, and whether you love that Prussian blue that I was laying down here with some white, or a cerulean blue, or purple, that's really, it's kind of your call. I just threw in a little bit of ultramarine blue right in there. But it's amazing what dark contrasts begin to build. And I'm going to be doing this back and forth again with these darks, and then going in lighten areas to get really a really interesting contrast and let things just start to pop. These paintings, even though I'm painting fast, painting quickly, I don't finish these in one setting, because I do need to get away from them and let it have a chance to not only kind of dry, but most importantly, let me get away from it and come back and approach the canvas the next day or later in the day or whatever. And then you just kind of greet it with a whole new approach. So hopefully, if you're painting along with me, you're kind of jumping in to your painting, and we will continue on. So thanks for joining me. All right, well, thanks for joining me. I had a lot of fun bringing some florals into this painting, and I want you to stay tuned for the next video. Make sure you see it, because I'm going to wrap it up, put in kind of some finishing touches, and show you how I decide if I'm at an end point for these paintings. And be sure to follow me on Instagram at Jamie Mansfield. Join the Painterly Life private Facebook group, and be sure to check out my website in the description below. You'll be able to see my paintings, my books, and get to know me a little better. But most importantly, in the next video, I have a huge surprise for you, and the hint is it's a very awesome giveaway, so you're not going to want to miss it. Be sure to watch the last video.